Karen destroyed my daughter's school project. My husband is the school district's top attorney. I never thought I'd see my daughter cry over a sidewalk. But I also never thought I'd watch a grown woman tear up a third grader's homework and call it litter. My name is Elise. I'm a graphic designer and mother of one incredible 8-year-old named Ava. My husband Marcus is the district counsel for the Maple Ridge School District. He's calm, brilliant, the kind of man who knows the law down to the footnote. But none of that mattered the morning Karen Whitlock ripped my daughter's science project into pieces. We moved to Maple Ridge 6 months ago. It was supposed to be a fresh start, quieter streets, better schools, trimmed hedges, and a big backyard for Ava's telescope. Our old neighborhood was loud, chaotic, full of love but low on sleep. This place looked like peace. We were wrong. From the beginning, there was attention. Our welcome basket was just a flyer titled Living in Harmony with HOA Standards. No cookies, no handshakes. Just pages of rules printed in Comic Sans and color-coded with passive aggression. Karen Whitlock, the chair of neighborhood compliance, wore polos with her name embroidered and carried a clipboard like a sword. She'd knock on doors about grass height, chalk drawings, and driveway noise. But no one ever found actual HOA documents filed with the county. Marcus checked legally. There was no HOA, but Karen didn't need legal backing. She had fear. Then came the day Ava worked for 3 days straight on her solar system diorama. She crafted the planets from foam, painted each one by hand, even suspended a tiny paper comet with string. She was proud, so proud she wanted to walk it to school herself instead of taking the bus. We left 10 minutes early, Ava cradling the box in her arms like it was made of glass. Halfway down the block, I was helping a neighbor with their trash bin when I heard Ava scream. I ran. Karen was standing over Ava, arms crossed, red clipboard tucked under her elbow. The project lay in pieces, paint smeared, foam balls crushed, strings dangling like snapped nerves. She dropped it, I asked. Panicked. Karen sniffed. No. I confiscated it. We don't allow children to carry unsightly displays through the neighborhood. It looked like garbage. I blinked. You ripped up her schoolwork. Karen shrugged. It was attracting attention. We have standards. Ava sobbed harder. That's when Marcus pulled up. He was still in his district car, school badge clipped to his belt, coffee untouched in the console. He saw Ava, the torn pieces, me shaking with fury, and then he saw Karen. He stepped out slowly. Ma'am, he said, did you just destroy an 8-year-old school project? Karen blinked. Excuse me, who are you to ask? He held up his ID, district attorney, school legal counsel, and her father. Karen's face went from smug to startled in half a breath. Sir, I didn't know. He raised a hand. Calm, deadly. You will? Marcus has a way of speaking that silences rooms. It's not about volume, it's precision, controlled authority. But in that moment, standing over our daughter's destroyed school project, I saw something in his eyes I'd only seen once before, cold fury. He crouched next to Ava first. Sweetheart, I'm here, he whispered, brushing dirt and string from her trembling hands. Did she touch your project? Ava nodded, sniffling, and pointed at Karen. She grabbed it and said it was junk. Karen stiffened. I was enforcing visual order. That display didn't belong on a public sidewalk. Marcus stood, slowly. His badge gleamed in the sun. You mean my daughter's educational science diorama, the one she made as part of a district-sanctioned assignment? Karen crossed her arms, losing a bit of her earlier bite. It was disruptive. Children need to learn proper presentation. This neighborhood isn't a daycare. Marcus didn't blink. Did you know that destroying educational material with intent to interfere with a child's access to academic opportunity can be interpreted as educational obstruction under state code? Karen flinched. I didn't. That's not what this is. No, Marcus said flatly. This is exactly what this is. I expected her to back off, maybe apologize, maybe even run inside. But Karen doubled down. You people always overreact. She can redo it. It's not the end of the world. I gasped. You people, Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He turned to me. Elise, please take Ava home. I'll be back in 10 minutes. What are you going to do? I asked. I'm going to find out just how many lies Karen's told this neighborhood, and then I'm going to dismantle the little empire she built out of fear and colored paper. By the time we got home, Marcus had already pulled 3 county documents from his legal drive and called in a contact at the Office of Civil Rights. He was calm too. Calm. She's got no charter, he said, typing furiously. No bylaws. No legal standing. She's been issuing threats and fines under a made-up HOA name for years. He spun the laptop toward me. Sure enough, there was no HOA registered for our community, no nonprofit, no tax ID, just a P.O. box and Karen's name labeled Neighborhood Compliance Committee. She's been running an unlicensed enforcement scheme, Marcus said, and now she's committed a direct act of academic interference against a minor. He pulled up Ava's school policy, highlighting a clause that allowed parental escalation in case of obstruction to student success caused by a non-school adult. And then he said the words that sent a chill through me. She's not going to apologize. She's going to be held accountable. That evening, we held an impromptu gathering on our front lawn. I posted the story on Nextdoor and included a picture of Ava's destroyed diorama. Within 45 minutes, neighbors trickled in. Some were angry, others embarrassed. Many brought their own stories. She fined me $100 for leaving my hose uncoiled. She told my son he couldn't ride his scooter because it ruined the neighborhood image. She said our Halloween decorations were culturally offensive. And then one man pulled out a printed notice. I got this from her last year. It says if I don't pay a compliance donation, she'll report my porch to the city. Marcus took a photo of it. That's extortion under false pretenses. The group was silent for a moment. Then one of the older women, Mrs. Bloom from 3 houses down, whispered, "We just thought she was the HOA." No one ever questioned it. Marcus looked around. You were never the problem. Silence was. The next day, Marcus filed an official complaint with the county's Department of Consumer Protection, the district school board, and with a bold move, the state's Attorney General's office under the Education Rights Protection Act. He also CC'd the local paper. The headline came out that evening, Neighborhood Enforcer Rips Child's School Project. Faces legal blowback. No HOA found. We didn't even have to name her. Everyone knew. Karen's front yard was empty the next morning. No clipboard. No pink violation slips taped to mailboxes. No smug morning walks with her golden retriever. But she wasn't gone. Because instead of apologizing, she printed a letter and slid it under every door. It read, "There are those in this neighborhood who believe rules do not apply to them. They seek to dismantle order and structure under the guise of freedom. If you value the peace and beauty of our community, I ask you to stand firm against this chaos. Karen Whitlock, Acting Director, Millbrook Community Standards Office below." That was a phone number hers? I laughed. Marcus didn't. She just declared war. That night, I checked on Ava. She was in bed, drawing. "Are you okay, baby?" I asked softly. She nodded. "Yeah, but I want to rebuild it. Better this time." I smiled. "You don't have to rush." She looked at me with those stubborn, gentle eyes and said, "I'm not doing it for school. I'm doing it because she doesn't get to break my planets." Karen thought she had power, but she forgot the people she ruled over had each other. And now, we were coming for the truth. Marcus called it weaponized bureaucracy. Karen called it community order. But when we peeled back the layers, what we found wasn't just petty rules or overzealous notes, it was a system. Built from nothing, sustained by fear, and it was about to collapse. The morning after Karen distributed her letter, 3 more neighbors knocked on our door. One man, Mr. Henry, a quiet widower who lived near the back cul-de-sac, brought an entire folder of fines, all signed with Karen's made-up title. Some were ridiculous $15 for mailbox noise during wind, $25 for improper Halloween lighting hues, $100 for patio umbrella obstructing aesthetic alignment. But it was the invoice format that caught Marcus's attention. This, this is a duplicate of a county compliance notice template only edited. She mimicked government documentation and mailed them, I asked. He nodded grimly, which makes it mail fraud. That night, Marcus compiled all the evidence, digital scans, scanned letters, the torn diorama, and Ava's teacher's testimony confirming she saw Ava crying before class. And Karen's interference had delayed her assignment submission. We called an emergency meeting at the local community center. What we expected, maybe 15 people. What we got, over 70. Families, seniors, young couples, renters. Even a few teenagers came in, curious about the crazy HOA lady getting sued. Marcus stood in front of the projector screen and said 5 words. "Your HOA, it doesn't exist." Gasps, a few angry shouts. One woman burst into tears. "Then what have I been paying for 5 years?" she asked, waving a stack of PayPal receipts. "Directly into Karen Whitlock's personal account," Marcus answered. The screen lit up with a transaction history. The account name, Millbrook Standards. Linked to a P.O. box. No 501c3. No registered nonprofit. No corporate identity. Just her. She's been extorting this neighborhood under the illusion of law. And yesterday, she destroyed educational property and emotionally harmed a child. That was her final mistake. He paused. Let it sink in. But now we act. We formed a coalition. Neighbors divided into teams. Legal documentation. Marcus trained them how to file formal affidavits. Digital investigation. Jameer, the teen next door, helped track deleted Facebook group posts Karen had made in private forums. Media and outreach, I ran point with a journalist from the Maple Gazette. Support group Mrs. Bloom and Ava's teacher organized emotional support meetups for kids who had been disciplined by Karen. And that's when we discovered something bigger. Karen had done this before. A woman named Raquel from the next town over sent me an email that chilled my blood. I saw the article. I know that woman. She destroyed our block in Rockford Hills 5 years ago. She called herself the compliance advocate, made my son remove his autism support flag from our window, told us it was distracting. When we pushed back, she mailed the landlord a fake report about code violations. We were evicted within a month. Karen had changed her name in the filing from community coordinator to neighborhood executive officer, but the pattern was identical. Fear, control, silence, all under the guise of authority. That night, Marcus made a call to his friend at the state attorney general's office. We have a multi-jurisdictional civil rights abuse pattern tied to impersonated authority, financial fraud, and educational interference. He said, I watched him transform from my husband into something more. Not just a lawyer, a reckoning. Karen, of course, retaliated. 2 days later, anonymous flyers were taped to neighborhood doors. The Donovans want chaos. They seek to abolish standards and bring in crime. Ask yourself, do we want order or disorder? Some of the flyers even had doctored images of Ava's diorama zoomed in, blurred, claiming it was a political message disguised as schoolwork. She's painting our daughter as a threat, I whispered, shaking. But Marcus didn't flinch. She just committed defamation of a minor. Let her keep digging. The following Saturday, we held a press conference in the park. Not at City Hall, not on the courthouse steps. Right on the sidewalk where Karen ripped up Ava's work. Ava stood beside me, holding the reconstructed diorama rebuilt stronger, bigger, with Jupiter spinning and Pluto restored. Marcus stood behind the mic and spoke with quiet fire. This isn't just about one ripped project. This is about every family silenced by a fraud who pretended to be law. It's about the illusion of order being used as a weapon. My daughter learned science through this project, but this community, we're learning something. Too, we're learning that the strongest force in a neighborhood isn't a rule book. It's the people. Karen didn't show up, but she didn't need to. Her absence spoke louder than her clipboard ever could. That afternoon, the DOJ emailed us. They were opening a formal investigation. And that night, the Maple Gazette ran the headline, Neighborhood tyrant exposed, fake HOA chief faces, federal heat over child harassment, fraud scheme, and Ava. She stood on the porch with her rebuilt diorama, looked up at the stars and whispered, "They can't hide Pluto anymore." Karen underestimated the law. She underestimated my husband. But most of all, she underestimated a little girl with glue-stained fingers and a spine of steel. The DOJ investigation didn't take long to uncover the rot beneath Karen's prim facade. Within a week of our press conference, 3 former residents from her past neighborhoods submitted statements. One, from a military widow in Rockford Hills, described Karen issuing a fake courtesy notice demanding she remove a gold star flag honoring her fallen husband because it projected political overtones. Another statement came from a Spanish-speaking family in Birchfield Commons. Karen had fined them monthly for unauthorized cultural decor because they strung papel picado for Dia de los Muertos, and when they resisted, she reported them to Child Protective Services for neglect because their kid played barefoot. She doesn't just enforce fake rules. Marcus told me. She targets difference and uses fear to make it palatable. What began as a school project had become a statewide storm. The county's Consumer Protection Bureau issued a fraud alert tied to Millbrook Compliance Committee, the name Karen had used to disguise her HOA scam. The alert warned residents to stop making payments immediately and provided a hotline for victims to report false citations, fines, or property threats. In less than 48 hours, 62 complaints flooded in. The scope of it was staggering. Karen had collected nearly $72,000 in the past 4 years, posing as a regulatory officer, handing out fake warnings, and threatening to report violators to city officials if they didn't comply. She even charged renters for noise ordinance monitoring, despite having no jurisdiction whatsoever. And now her fraud trail was documented, time-stamped, and federally recognized. Marcus worked late every night, compiling affidavits and coordinating with legal counsel from all 3 towns she'd infiltrated. I watched him balance grace and fire, all while still packing Ava's lunches, reviewing science trivia with her before bed, and listening to her explain Saturn's rings like it was the most important information on Earth. It was, because Karen hadn't just disrupted a child's schoolwork. She'd tried to shatter joy, and joy, once rebuilt, becomes unbreakable. But Karen wasn't done lashing out. 3 days after the fraud alert dropped, someone vandalized our driveway. Spray paint. Red. Angry. Sloppy. Chaos, family, get out. Ava saw it first. Her hands froze around the rebuilt diorama. I ran outside, heart pounding. Marcus stared at the paint for a long time. Then he calmly opened the garage, pulled out a hose, and began washing it away. "Fear acts like this when it's losing," he said, but what none of us expected. The neighbors showed up, one by one, buckets, brushes, hands, no questions asked. Emily brought white paint. Jameer brought music. The Bloom sisters brought lemonade. It wasn't just about cleaning a driveway. It was about cleaning the air, the silence, the shame, the years people felt too scared to speak. That day, Millbrook started over. That same evening, we got the letter, a cease and desist from Karen's new lawyer. A laughable document that threatened to sue Marcus for character defamation, emotional distress, and public incitement. Marcus read it once, then again, then calmly picked up his phone and left a message for the State Bar Association. She forged documents, he told them, and now she's filing retaliatory litigation to silence a whistleblower. I'm forwarding everything. 2 days later, Karen received her own cease and desist from the State Attorney General's office. It was direct. You are hereby ordered to immediately cease and desist all activity conducted under any alias or authority not legally recognized by the state of redacted. Continued activity may constitute additional charges of impersonation, fraud, and harassment of protected groups under federal statute. And for the first time in weeks, Karen disappeared. No more flyers, no more compliance visits, no more Karen, but her damage lingered. Ava started flinching when strangers walked by. She hesitated before bringing her diorama outside, asking, "What if someone else tears it up?" I knelt down beside her. "Listen to me," I whispered. "That woman didn't break your project. She just broke a box. You're the one who put the planets back. You're the one who made the sky again. That's power." Ava blinked. "Can I draw that draw?" What she smiled. The sky after someone tried to steal it. The next week, the school hosted its annual science night. Ava's project, now twice the size, lit from within, and spinning gently on a motor powered by solar cells, stood right at the entrance. Over 100 families came. Students clapped. Her teacher wept. Even the superintendent came by. When he saw Ava's name on the project, he turned to Marcus. "You're the district attorney." "Right." Marcus nodded. The superintendent smiled. "That girl, that's your legacy." Karen was formally charged that same weekend. 3 counts of impersonating a government official, 2 counts of mail fraud, 1 count of interfering with the education of a minor, civil suits from 8 families, including ours, and a pending ADA violation for the harassment of disabled residents she previously targeted. Her lawyer withdrew from the case. She hired a public defender, and her name, it vanished from neighborhood documents like it had never belonged there in the first place. But we didn't stop at taking her down. We built something better. Millbrook United formed a real neighborhood association, run by elected volunteers with an open charter, public forums, and zero tolerance for discriminatory enforcement. The first vote to ban any future attempts at non-transparent compliance activity. The second to rename the community park. It had been called Meadow Place Circle. Now it's called Ava's Orbit. There's a plaque. It reads, "In honor of Ava Donovan, who reminded us the universe is big enough for all of us." Ava visits every week. She brings new models, new ideas, and Marcus. He got a call from the State Board of Education asking him to sit on a new committee for protecting the student rights from community overreach. Funny how a torn diorama became a galaxy of change. The courtroom was quiet, solemn, not because it was full of tension, but because everyone already knew the verdict before it was spoken. There are some battles you win long before a judge bangs the gavel. Karen sat at the defense table, smaller somehow, her once commanding voice reduced to whispered objections and hunched shoulders. She wore gray instead of her usual pristine whites and blues. The clipboard was gone. The badge she used to flash like a weapon had been entered into evidence months ago now, just a prop in the story of her downfall. Marcus sat to my right, calm and steady. Ava sat between us, wearing a navy dress covered in constellations. She brought her newest science model to show her teacher afterward, a working orbit simulator. She didn't fidget. She didn't hide. She owned her space. The judge read the charges: fraud, harassment, obstruction, impersonation of public authority, a pattern of discriminatory enforcement across 3 counties, targeting marginalized families and using fictitious governance as cover. And then came the sentence. This court recognizes a sustained abuse of influence and the deliberate targeting of a minor's education. You will pay restitution to the families affected. You are forbidden from participating in any governance capacity related to housing, zoning, or education in this state for 10 years. And finally, you will issue a public apology live and unedited to the child you harmed. The room didn't cheer, because this wasn't about revenge. It was about reconstruction. Karen delivered her apology 1 week later at Millbrook Elementary, in the auditorium where Ava once whispered to me she was afraid to bring a project again. She stood in front of hundreds of families, teachers, board members, and students, and read from a sheet of paper with trembling hands. I let my personal sense of order override decency, and in doing so, I hurt a child. I created fear where I claimed to create community. I am sorry for the harm I caused to Ava Donovan and to the Millbrook neighborhood. I see now that control without compassion is not leadership, it's abuse. And when she was done, Ava stood, walked to the front, and, with the full grace of someone twice her age, looked Karen in the eyes and said, "You broke it, but I fixed it. And I hope next time you want to tear something down, you try building something instead." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. That day, Ava became more than a kid who rebuilt a school project. She became a beacon. The superintendent later told us the school received over 2,000 letters from students and teachers across the country after the story went viral. Kids wrote about bullies. Teachers wrote about fear of overreach. Parents wrote about how they'd once stayed silent in the face of fake power and how Ava inspired them to speak. Karen moved out of Millbrook 3 weeks later. No one stopped her. No one harassed her. No one egged her house or shouted names. Because Ava asked us not to. Let her leave. Let her learn. We already won. In the spring, the town unveiled a new addition to Ava's Orbit Park, a sculpture of her solar system project restored from the fragments of the original. Surrounded by a ring of bricks engraved with one word from every kid in the community: resilience, voice, light, truth, joy, justice. And in the center of the model, a plaque with Ava's own words: nobody owns the stars, but we all get to shine. Marcus now speaks nationally on education rights and the legal boundaries of community enforcement. His keynote, Clipboard Tyranny, When Order Becomes Oppression, was recently added to the American Bar Association's continuing education series. I joined the advisory board for Millbrook United, and every time a new neighbor moves in, we don't give them rules. We give them names, phone numbers, and a homemade welcome cake from Ava. And Ava, she's building a new model now, bigger, this time, with constellations from different cultures: a Nigerian sky goddess, a Polynesian canoe star path, a Cherokee morning star. She says she's building a sky for everyone, and this time, no one will rip it down. Have you ever been silenced by someone pretending to have power? Has your community ever let fear take the place of fairness? Don't wait for the next Karen to show up with a clipboard. Speak, stand, share, because the world doesn't need more enforcers. It needs more builders.